Just so that the other people that need to get about their day. I mean, he's been here 2 days in a row.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. This is the August 27th Salary and Labor Committee meeting for LaSalle County. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the roll call. Tom Walsh, absent. Tina Bush, absent. Joe Osipinski, absent. Mike McEmery,
Here.
Kathy Bright,
Here.
James Bailey,
Here.
and I am Steve Aubrey. Okay, first item is motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. So I have, first by Mike, second by James. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Okay, first item on the agenda we have is the Sheriff's Department for a PT telecommunicator position.
Good morning. I'm Diana Stiles, 911 Director. So I went before the Public Safety Board. We are finding that we're having a lot of overtime. It is very draining on our dispatchers. So I had approached the union about the possibility of having a couple of experienced telecommunicators that could come in and help on a part-time basis. Nothing that would be all the time. We would definitely not, use them unless we had a need for it. But part-time telecommunicators are so beneficial to us. They offer great flexibility and a supplement to full-time staff during high-demand periods. They can help cover unexpected absences, reducing reliance on costly overtime and avoiding burnout among employees. They're very cost-effective. They reduce our overall labor costs by lowering the benefit expenses and overtime liability. In this case, speaking with the union and the Public Safety Committee, these would not be benefit employees. It would just be an hourly wage, and that would be it. They offer part-time roles, offer us the opportunity to have trained people in the chair. So if we do have a vacancy, we could offer it to them first to step into a full-time role, which helps increase the ability to get someone filled in that position much faster. It also helps us to reduce burnout and improve morale. As we all know, 911 is an extremely stressful job, and allowing part-time staff helps alleviate pressure on our full-timers, giving them a better work-life balance. If we're allowed to hire part-time employees, I would only seek experienced dispatchers, maximizing their opportunities in the chair. So in the last 7 months, we've had 1,851 hours of overtime for a cost of roughly $77,503. From now until September 15th, we are going to have another 40 overtime shifts to fill. If you average the wage in that room at about 35 at overtime, it's probably a little bit more than that. That's another $5,000 in the next 2 weeks that we're going to pay in overtime. The bigger issue for me in asking for part-time personnel is that right now, to fill these shifts, their vacation days, their sick days, their saved holidays, their personal days, that's earned time, earned benefits that they are allowed to take. So, it's not something that we can say is no, we can't let you take that, but there is a lot of time in that room for people to take. So they're only allowed to work 12 hours max in the chair. So what happens is on those overtime shifts, they either work 4 hours at the start of their shift or 4 hours at the end of it. But the number of overtime shifts we're seeing, they're working 5 and 6 days in a row, 12-hour days, and they're not getting time off to decompress from what they're doing and have a little bit more of a work-life balance. So just having the ability to have 2 or maybe 3 part-time people that are available for us to pull from, that are people that already have their certifications, they have their licensing, sometimes they may work at other places, But I'm hopefully looking for people that have been a dispatcher, have maybe retired, or they've had to reduce their time down to part-time because of things happening in their home life, that can really just be on our poll to call them up and say, hey, I have, 3 vacation days for this person coming this week. Are you able to take any of those times to help reduce the number of hours that they're sitting in the chair? We are short 4 staff. I have 1 getting out on their own Monday, and I have 2 that are in training right now. And once they're out on their own and have their feet underneath them for a little bit, we'll hire that last one that we need. But it does not alleviate the need that they still have all that vacation time, all that sick time, all that saved holidays, and all that personal time. Those hours of overtime do not even include the comp time hours that they're banking. So, that's just hours that's on the books. I did not ask for the comp time hours. So those hours are also hours that will come into play for them to be able to take. So for me, again, it would just be a flat wage. Right now, it's $23.21. They would come on board at that dollar amount. No benefits. They would accrue nothing that has to do with insurance or days or anything like that. So that's what I'm asking for today, is just the approval to have the ability to have a few part-time people.
1,851 hours is year-to-date.
That is only in the last 7 months. From January to August, it was from January to the 1st of August.
And in a year, full-time is 2,080 hours.
Yes,
So we're going to exceed 1 full-time equivalent in just overtime.
yes. And the unfortunate thing is, in dispatch, there is a turnover rate. There's agencies that are surrounding us that pay significantly more. We've lost a couple of people that have gone that way. 12 hours is a big thing. They like that 12 hours where it's only 14 days in a month. So, that was a big pull for them. And we have lost, the last one we lost really was for burnout. She just said, I can't do this. She went a completely different direction. She went to a different career, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, because it was just too much. And I think if we could have some part-time people that would allow them to have additional time that they're entitled to, it would be a great benefit for us.
How many part-timers are you currently looking at? You had mentioned 2, 3.
Yeah,
Are we looking
I
at 3,
think 3,
4?
no more than 3. I think we could probably do it with 2, but I think 3 would be a nice buffer, because you're asking them, you're giving them the shifts of time that you need. They may have things, childcare issues. If they're working another job part-time, they may have to work around that. So what my experience has been is, in the past, is if you have part-time people, what's your availability for the month? You tell me what days you're available, then I will look at our schedule, and then I'll say, can you work this day, these hours? And that way you're plugging them in, and you're allowing their home life to still be their home life, and whatever they have to do, where they can maximize the help for us.
So would these part-time employees then be union members?
No. No.
Is that mandatory overtime when you need somebody that's?
If they
so
don't volunteer, it
mandatory?
is mandatory.
Yeah, that'll burn you out.
Yes.
And your comp time is for days off or paid at the end of the year, both?
I think it's paid out if they don't use it. Melissa, their comp time, if they,
Sorry, I made a brief comment, and I'm sorry. what was
that's
the
okay.
question about?
Isn't their comp time, they turn that in after so many months of so many hours, they gotta get that paid out if they don't use it?
It's at the end of the
Usually
year, I
in
believe.
the month of November, if there are comp hours on the books for any department, those departments send that information to Jeannie, and that is paid out every fiscal year. So comp hours don't roll from fiscal year to fiscal year.
Yeah.
We pay out whatever the balances are on anybody.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, the sad part about it is, if they work overtime, I go, I'll bank 4 hours of comp time. That way, if I have a doctor's appointment or something, instead of taking sick and having that held against me, I'll just take 4 hours of comp time. But unfortunately, they have not been able to do that.
So that's a good chunk of change at the end of the year.
It is. And then again, that's not computed into the hours that I have, because I didn't even go, it's enough hours as it is already with just the overtime. It's straight.
So what I'm kind of seeing is we're gonna well blow past 2,080 hours, which would be with just an overtime, which is 1.5 full-time equivalent, which effectively would be 3 part-time people.
Correct.
To bring us back down, and we're still, I mean, just from a numbers perspective, um, it's gonna alleviate some burden and get rid of the comp time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're still paying them at a lower rate as well. So,
Correct.
So how much of the year have you been running short of staff? If you were staffed fully, you would be able to handle the call-ins without the overtime?
Potentially. There is a staff minimum in the chair, but since I've been here, we've never been fully staffed.
yeah, it's just tough to do. The dispatchers, they take almost as long as a deputy to train them. It's a long training period. And I would say maybe a third of them don't make it through the training program at least, so.
Yeah, I think we've done a lot better with training. We actually developed a training program and we follow a pretty good guide now. But it is very hard and they get to a certain point, you train them in blocks of things to do, but when it gets down to the last few months, you're trying to ask them to tie it all together and that's where they struggle. When you're having, 4 radios in your ear and the phones are ringing and, you're trying to input data. So we do wash out a lot in training, not because they're not good people or hardworking people or dependable, but they're just really not a fit for the job. They just can't do it. It's a very unique position with very unique people.
Does anybody have anything to say other?
I would think that maybe when we're looking at this instead of 2 or 3, sorry, I would think that instead of maybe 2 or 3 part-timers, we consider 3 or 4.
Do you mind if I chime in with a couple of thoughts?
Sure.
There are a couple of concerns that I have with this, and I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just trying to think this all the way through. I think that there's a potential risk that they would have to be unionized as part of this. Those positions don't exist in the contract, but ultimately you're going to be trying to fill overtime, which the current dispatchers would have accessible to them with non-union employees. Additionally, there are a couple things you'd have to figure out. One, you'd have to figure out whether you are even able to fill overtime shifts with non-union employees, and 2, whether you would be able to, how the bidding process would go for the shifts that you want to take advantage of. Currently, the telecommunicators get bonuses based on their rate for work overnight is higher than the rate for work during the day, if I'm correct. And so I would assume that the union's going to start digging their heels in about giving away value to their membership to people who aren't in the membership.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they're agreeable right now to that they get the first shot
Yes.
at these slots.
And I'm sure that the telecommunicators themselves are agreeable, but based on the conversations we've already had about some other things, I think the conversations with them themselves may not hold up with the union leadership. And so, we're talking about other aspects of the telecommunicator job in other areas. I know what the people in the seats are saying. I don't know that that's going to add up when we actually talk to the people who are in leadership positions, just as a heads up.
Yeah, I did talk to the union.
Okay.
I talked to Summer before we even went down that road. I had a meeting with her and I approached her about some
Okay.
of the other things we talked about in part-time. We went, through some of the things that we've been struggling with. She said that, the union, she said the union would not fight. She said as long as it was a non-benefited, non-union position, and as long as the dispatchers in the seats, which we would never overlook them first. The overtime availabilities would go up. They'd get first opportunity to sign up for it. We would circle back around. If you're done, then we'll offer it to part-time people. If we don't have part-time available, they could still get mandated. But I think we'd be able to do a lot better covering that without mandating in the chair if we had a few part-time people.
That's mainly the concerns that I had. I
Yeah,
just wanted
no,
to
I
bring that to
went, I
everybody's
made,
attention.
before I even brought it up, I wanted to go and talk to them to see what their feelings were about it, and she was open to it, so.
Okay.
So Jeremiah, what if there was something in writing for what the trip point would be for a union protest?
Couldn't you do a supplement in the contract? I mean, you can do that without, no, and no.
Yeah, this will,
You can put a supplement in there.
well, it's
But
gonna
the
require a
union-
lot of specific language, is the
Yes.
only thing I'm
Yes.
pointing out, is that like, already the concept of moving their shift hours potentially as part of to try to resolve some of these overtime issues. But then on top of that, I mean, realizing that as a lawyer, it's gonna require a lot of lawyerese, I get that. It's just that the potential for problems increases the more complicated you make it. So that's the only thing I'm just suggesting, is that when you now all of a sudden, when there's a part-time schedule that non-union people that overlaps with a full-time schedule of union people, and you're essentially taking overtime away from those people by hiring non-union part-time people. And so we need to get that part right and understand that there's a potential problem there, is all I'm pointing out.
When I worked in a union, we were getting mandated so much, they did a supplement where non-union people could step in
Okay.
and do our job.
Sure.
And that alleviated a little bit of the problem.
Yeah, the hope is that we have a, great MOU between the union and the sheriff's office, and like I said, I'm open to those conversations, and
Sure.
and I think, like I said, I know the union is too. So, it'd be nice at some point if we could just make one MOU to cover everything
Well,
we're
that-
talking about. There isn't a huge urgency to get, part-time with getting a couple people out, but it would still be something to look for here, maybe hopefully by the end of the year, just to have that as our backup to cover these, times, holidays are coming and people have got those days and they're gonna wanna take them, and, the more longevity they have, the more days they bank, as far as time off. So it's just something to, work towards to help give them a better work-life balance and not burn them out.
So what are we just giving you the blessing to do it with an approval, or do we have to put a formal resolution to push it forward?
My take on this would be is that essentially, probably you wouldn't make a motion to approve it at this time. What we could come up with is a framework for how this would work going forward, and then we could bring it, is that fair
That's
enough
fine.
to say?
Yes.
And then they would seek approval of that idea with better framework by the next, that way you know what it is you're actually voting on, would be my suggestion. If that sounds good. So we could continue this issue to the next meeting, salary and labor, and we can have an idea of what we want to do for that, if that works.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like I said, this is just, getting your guys' approval if we can work out an MOU between the union, and the sheriff's office for the dispatcher part of it, that we have your blessing to do that.
So would somebody like to make that motion? James? Michael, for a second. All those in favor? Aye. All right, it's approved. And I do agree that, the main reason, and maybe 3 to 4 is what to look for, but due primarily to the turnover rate of the position, and this might actually help your turnover rate.
Yeah, I'm hoping, and I can
So
tell you
let's-
that, this is a problem throughout the country. One of the biggest things right now, that we talk about at a lot of our state meetings is, the vacancy rate in centers and how we overcome that. And I can tell you, nobody has a solution, but I think this is a viable option to maybe help some of that when we are in positions where we have a lot of time, like this next 2 weeks coming at 40 shifts, is huge to fill, when you've only got, 6, 7 people to fill that with. You're asking them, 7 days a week, somebody's coming in, those hours, so, and if we can have somebody pick up 10 of them, on a part-time basis, that would be awesome.
And as long as I've been in administration, when I was chief deputy, undersheriff, sheriff, dispatches, I don't think it's ever been fully staffed. If you get one or two trained and released, one leaves, you know what I mean? It's just like a constant thing. And, you know, I think she's hoping that she picks up maybe from surrounding dispatch centers, local folks that are already kind of trained that want to pick up a few extra shifts, you know, is kind of the goal, so.
We don't say two words in dispatch, we never say quiet, because that's like, you know, makes things go crazy, and we don't say fully staffed, because it jinxes us, but we're gonna get there. That's our goal, and we're on our way, and like I said, we've got people in training, and hopefully they'll be getting out soon, that will be some burden. This is a great fallback option, in case something comes up and we run into the same situation we're in now.
Okay, so go work on the fine print.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move the negotiations protocol that's on the agenda for later in the meeting. So right now, I need a motion to go into executive session 5 ILCS 120/2 C for compensation of specific employees and discretionary leaves. James first, Kathy second. All those in favor? Oh, roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Kathy?
I.
You already said. And we got James.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So approved.